I would love if you could cut me a promo to the College Football Playoff Committee on why Iowa deserves to be ranked higher.
You playoff committee. Actually, our AD is the head of the playoff committee, and I'm sure that he's trying to avoid anything that looks like it might be nepotism or him favoring his Hawkeyes, but do the right thing and put us higher. Top 10. I was gonna say it might be a bit of a stretch, but no, put us in the top 10. Put us at 10. I'll take 10, but no worse than 10 because we deserve it.
Hey guys, welcome on into Drinks with Binks. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks. Now, we've had plenty of different stars and champions on this show, and in the fighting world, we've had WWE broadcasters and MMA promoters, but this is our first. For the first time ever, we are so excited to have the WWE champion, Big E, on our show here today. So pumped to have you on ahead of the Survivor Series. This is huge for everyone here at Fubo TV. Thank you so much for being here with us, and cheers to you. Congratulations on being the champ.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you for taking the time to do this interview because I'm sure it is very busy as you are trying to get ready for the big fight coming up and so many different things that you have, so many different interviews and everything that you have to go through. When you are the champ now, like what is sort of like the coolest thing about holding that belt and sort of holding that title?
Man, there's so much that comes along with it. So many incredible, beautiful things. In the ring, man, becoming WWE champion. So I won the title in Boston, and just the reception from fans just really warmed my heart. I got to the back and I had 144 missed texts, and they just kept coming and coming. And it took me like 3 days to get back to everyone. But also I've been able to do some really cool things outside of the ring. The night of winning the title, Tyson Fury DM'd me and said some, just really nice things and, invited me out for his fight. He had this massive fight with Deontay Wilder, their trilogy. We ended up connecting, and his people reached out to WWE, and I got to do the intros for Fury and Wilder. And as a boxing fan, that was like one of the coolest things that I've ever been able to do.
That's cool.
But also, I got to go back to my alma mater. I played football at Iowa. And the beautiful thing is the program has had so much consistency. So Coach Ferentz, when I got there in 2004, he was my head coach then. He's still there now. The defensive coordinator recruited me 17 years ago. And so I got to go back for the Iowa-Penn State game and got to do Big Noon Kickoff. And the night before, I had dinner with, as a massive college football fan, I was in heaven. Because I'm at dinner with Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Brady Quinn. And like these guys are like Paul Bunyan type figures in college football. So, that day was just incredibly cool. To do both those things in the same day has been awesome. And that's because, I'm WWE champion. And in many ways, it's just opened doors for me. And I've been able to do some really incredible things. So it's been a lot of fun.
You were incredible on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox, just getting everyone ramped up for that Iowa-Penn State game. And we're going to get to your football career in a little bit later on. But in terms of being WWE champion, we've seen so many incredible stars and personalities hold this title. Who's someone that inspired you or continues to inspire you that has held this illustrious title?
Ooh, that is a great question. I was going to say Goldberg, but was Goldberg I know he was Universal Champion. So Goldberg was my idol as a kid. And I actually got to meet him at a signing over 20 years ago. And he was incredible. I still have the 8x10 that he signed for me. So he's definitely up there. But, I also have to shout out to my partner, my tag team partner. There's three of us in our faction, The New Day. For people who don't know, Kofi Kingston was WWE champion a couple years ago. And he inspired me, and just being able to watch him, the way he carried himself. And, he's a guy who is not a vocal leader as far as like pulling you aside and telling you what to do, but he leads by example. And I got to watch the way he carried himself, the way he dealt with media, and sometimes these sleepless nights where he was just so busy, and just the amount of grace he carried the championship with. So, I learned from him just by watching, and I couldn't be more proud to call him my tag partner. And, he's become family for me.
Right. And you mentioned the guys with New Day, and when you're together, you discussed how important it was to be proudly black in WWE. And now you're holding this position, this title, and you have this platform. What does it mean as a black man to have that kind of representation within the sport?
I love it. I just really want our company and just I think entertainment as a whole to reflect the society that we live in. And I think we're definitely doing a better job there, and we're getting there. But, it's interesting. A few years ago, The Rock was the only black man to ever hold this championship. And then a couple years ago, we had Kofi Kingston, and Bobby Lashley was the man that I beat. And now, to see where we're at with representation, and you look on the women's side, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, we have so many actual stars. Hit Row just came over to SmackDown. And just looking around, I'm really proud of where we're at in our industry, in our company, outside of our company. I think it's a great time for, black wrestlers and just, people from all, in my mind, my hope is that people from all walks of life can see themselves represented in WWE. That they see someone who looks like them or who, just carries themselves in a certain way. And I think when our company has that rainbow feeling and looks like the world that we live in, I think that's just an incredible thing. So I think we're on a good path, and I hope we continue on that path.
Well, cheers to you for that and continuing to be a role model for so many more people out there who might be the next WWE champion. Let's look ahead to big weekend coming up with Survivor Series, and you're taking on WWE Universal Champ Roman Reigns. How are you preparing for this?
So, this is the biggest match of my career. Roman has been a massive star. He's been at the very top of our industry. He's been on this incredible run. But for me, even though this is a bit of a new position for me, I still believe in staying the course and preparing the way that I always prepare. So, physically, I'll be in the gym. I'll be doing mobility work, still doing my cardio. In the midst of trying to do all this media, and it's hectic, being in New York for a few days promoting Survivor Series. But, I'm just excited. I'm so excited about that opportunity to go out there and really put a stamp on my legacy and on my resume, and to do it in New York, which is, in many ways, to me, feels like the Mecca of WWE and our industry, because just this is the heart of WWE, and in our origins, we're in this area, in the New York area, and just the fan base here is so rabid. They're so into what we do. So for me, it's just kind of just staying the course and doing what I always do. But mentally, I'm ready. I'm prepared.
So then how much input do you get with the writers for what happens now?
Yeah, so there's a lot that is out of my hands, but I will say the nice part is, with the New Day, we have a certain modicum of creative freedom. I think we got, and that comes with time and trust. I think over time, the company realized hey, these guys have creative ideas, and our thought is we're never going to try to make the show worse. We're always going to try to make things better. So I think when you have that trust, we have some room to play with. So for the most part, when I go out there, I'll know if I'm going to cut a promo. I'll know, the bullet points of what I want to get across, what I need to address. And I have some freedom to direct that how I want to kind of structure the promo in a way that makes sense for me. Because I always believe, especially in wrestling, actors jump in and out of characters. They have all these different roles. But, I'm Big E. Today, I've been Big E for years. This is a role that I live in. And I feel like, I just really, no one's going to know my character better than me. No one's going to know how I want to come across better than me. So I'm grateful for the trust in being able to come across the way that I want to.
Right. It's like method acting. You have become the character.
Yeah.
But the character became you. Right.
Right. You kind of get lost in the sauce. Who knows who is who, right?
That's really cool. And I mean, I kind of mentioned it before. I'm a bit newer to the sport, but I've always felt in my heart that like I play hockey. I'm super flamboyant, obviously, based on this. So I was like, I feel like I should be a wrestler, not even a broadcaster of it, but like I would love to be a part of it. But is it like when you're doing? I love. I'm just telling this to a WWE champion casually. Like I want to be like you. Do you ever want to just go out there and like actually be Big E and be like, no, I'm gonna break this guy's neck. Like I don't care if my script has been that I'm gonna lose. Like no, I want to do this.
Well, I will say, there's definitely there are times that calls for a certain level of intensity. And the stuff with Roman, he a couple weeks ago he attacked Kofi and Woods this past week. So for me, there's a certain level of animosity, but in the same vein, I'm not trying to break any necks because even though I might feel a certain way about Roman or anyone else, at the end of the day, we all have families, we all have loved ones we want to go back to. So that's the goal. I want to be as good as I can be in the ring. I want to beat everyone that I'm standing across the ring from. But after that, I want people to go home safe to their families.
Right. That's a good answer. I would never want to do anything bad to anyone else either.
I do that. Very convincing. Very convincing.
Yeah. So do you know that if you're gonna win or lose beforehand?
Well, I mean, we acknowledge like what we do is the E in WWE stands for entertainment. So. We go out there and we put our bodies on the line, and it's very physical. When people ask, like, hey, is it real? There's no faking being hit by a chair. Or if you getting hit by, I don't know if you've seen a kendo stick, there's no faking like that. That's as real as it gets. But what we do is entertainment. But, we go out there, and our goal is to get you so caught up and wrapped up in this contest between two men, two women, tag teams, whatever it is to get you so engrossed in it that you don't worry about what like you just are so into and engaged with what you're watching. So that is the goal of what we do.
Well, you guys do a good job with that. That's for certain. Way better than any other sport, and in many other entertainment forms. And so for this weekend in particular, going to my first time, what is something I should be looking for, or that like you're excited that I will get to see for the first time?
Ooh, great question. Well, obviously, besides me and Roman,
yes,
I will say
go Big E, by the way.
Thank you very kindly. There's a massive match between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. And, they were, for people who aren't aware, they used to be thick as thieves. They were the best of friends. And now it's become very personal, and they are not. So, for me, I'll be busy getting ready, but that's a match too that I will definitely have my eye on. So, for a lot of people who aren't aware, we have one incredible women's division. Just so much talent in our women's division, so many stars. So definitely keep an eye out on the women because that match in particular is definitely going to be an incredible one.
Yes, and my future competition, I'll be taking notes.
Yeah.
And for you, we know that the world's been through a lot in the last couple of years. You have all these fans back. You talked about it being just like the Mecca being back in New York. What kind of role do the fans play when you're out there? Like, describe what that energy is like for you. Oh,
it's massive. I think that we need fans maybe more than any other facet of sports and entertainment because they are the lifeblood of what we did. Of what we do. We were in what we call the Thunderdome during the pandemic, and it was an empty arena, but we had screens so that our fans could be there virtually. Like you could see yourself on TV, which, we were making the very best of just this really awful situation with the pandemic. But, there was nothing like when we got back that first week of being back on the road, being in front of fans, getting that energy, there's nothing like it. And, being WWE champion, and I also won Money in the Bank a few months ago, which allowed me this opportunity to cash in and be WWE champion. Those two moments of getting that briefcase and becoming champion are moments that are very, very special and I'm grateful for in and of themselves. But really, to me, what makes them so special and so memorable is the reaction from fans. And them, being able to look around. I'm at the top of this ladder when I won Money in the Bank, and I'm looking around, seeing people jumping up and down, yelling, smiling. Like that to me is really just what I will always remember. just the reaction from fans. And, you know, when you think of the best moments in WWE, it's because of fan reaction. It's what we call pops, that loud reaction when you hear the glass break in Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song. Those moments when people are all standing on their feet. We hosted WrestleMania a few years ago, the New Day did, and we helped bring back the Hardys, who so many people love the Hardys from their childhood. And just, I got goosebumps every time I watch the fan reaction videos when their music hits and they come out and you look around and people, and they couldn't be louder and everyone is just so excited. That's what makes our industry, our business, that's what makes WWE so special.
You are at the top, you're at the pinnacles of WWE champion right now. But before that, Iowa Hawkeye, defensive end, you're a football player. You decide to make the change and to do this and go into WWE. What was at first like maybe the hardest thing that you had to learn, both physically and also on the entertainment side in being a part of this world?
Well, the entertainment side was definitely the biggest adjustment for me because as an athlete, all I worried about was my performance, my physical performance. And I was a kid, I was an introvert, and I'd still consider myself an introvert for the most part. So I just had that mentality of you keep your head down, you're quiet, you're respectful. But in WWE, it's all about engaging people and being charismatic. And you have to do things, so I had to learn to get out of that comfort zone of just my small, quiet self. And I had to learn to be this larger than life personality, to engage people, to make people laugh. So that definitely took some time, but I love it. I love it so much. I love performing. I love being the reason that someone is having a good time. Being able to look out from the ring and seeing people laughing or smiling or cheering or booing because of something you did is really, really incredible. So that took me a little bit of time to adjust to. As far as the physical side, you know, I wrestled amateur wrestling in high school. I played football, powerlifting. I did all these different things, but there's really no replacement for what you do in the ring. As far as, you know, we think too, I've talked to, other wrestlers and we talk about in-ring cardio. Sometimes you're out for an injury or whatever it is, you're out for some time and you do all this cardio on ellipticals, you're running, whatever it is, and you think, oh, I'll be in great ring shape. But then you get in the ring, you're in there a couple minutes and you're exhausted because there's just no real replacement for that. So there's definitely a different gear about being in the ring and that kind of shape. So that takes some time as well.
I can see that physically, and also then just like the fight or flight, like that adrenaline rush. You must just have such a hard come down afterwards of like, you're so buzzed having to be that character in front of all these people, and win or loss, like it's really incredible stage to be on. So you've been in front of the camera before. We know that you're a football fan, and I hate doing this because you probably get asked all the time, but so Iowa Hawkeyes 8-2 right now. You know, they're ranked, but maybe they need a little more respect on their name. So I'm not going to ask you to go full tilt, but if you want to, I definitely welcome it. I go 100p on this show. I would love if you could cut me a promo to the College Football Playoff Committee on why Iowa deserves to be ranked higher.
Okay, I got you. Well, you see, a lot of people doubted the rise of the Iowa Hawkeyes. A lot of people watched the Iowa Hawkeyes early this season, and they said that this team is a fraud. They said that, their offense is stagnant, they're winning with turnovers, and they're lucky wins. And there are people who jumped off this bandwagon when they watched the Purdue game, and I get it, I watched the game too, and it was a little ugly. Then the following week, we also lost to Wisconsin, and times were hard. Times were hard. But once a Hawkeye, always a Hawkeye. And I'm here to tell you that we have won 2 in a row. The momentum is back. We are ready to close this show by beating Illinois. We're going to thump Illinois. I'm going to tell you that right now. We will thump Illinois, and then we will close the regular season by thumping those Nebraska Cornhuskers. And you playoff committee. Actually, our AD is the head of the playoff committee, and I'm sure that he's trying to avoid anything that looks like it might be nepotism or him favoring his Hawkeyes, but do the right thing and put us higher. Top 10. I was gonna say it might be a bit of a stretch, but no, put us in the top 10. Put us at 10. I'll take 10, but no worse than 10 because we deserve it.
I love that. Yes, bravo. No worse than 10.
Yes.
That was awesome. Congratulations. Oh my gosh.
Appreciate
wow. That was great. And thank you for doing that without me giving you any heads up that I was going to ask you to do that.
Of course.
I know that you are a massive college football fan, so I had to ask you about that. And of course, Iowa, I've covered the game before. Kirk Ferentz is a great guy, so hopefully that playoff committee will be watching and listening. We'll make sure to tag them. So when you do look at college football, though, you agree with Georgia and Alabama, but then also Oregon up in the top 4?
So I don't. Bama, Georgia's definitely 1. I'm okay with Oregon at 3. I think Bama, I need a better win than. So they have the Ole Miss win, which is a good win, but the rest of their resume isn't great. I wouldn't put Bama at 2. I would put them at 4 or 5. To me, they're still on the outside looking in. They beat Georgia and they're in. My fear is, I think the committee is doing this because my fear is if they win out, they play Georgia, Georgia's undefeated. My fear is Alabama might win a close one, and now the SEC is going to get 2 teams in. There's even a possibility. I think there's a possibility. Let's say they lose to Georgia by like a late field goal or an overtime. If it's close, the committee, I think that's one reason there too, is okay, you can then slide them down to 4. And I love, Bama's incredible. I love watching Nick Saban do his thing. And this run has been incredible. But the committee they do whatever they can to get Bama in.
They do. That's just like a fact at this point. I mean, especially if you're Cincinnati, you're like, okay, come on, what are we doing? We gotta, it's always Bama, and then just we fill out the rest of the table. So we'll see. If we get a bigger difference between Georgia and Alabama, they definitely have to fall out at that point.
Yes.
This is a Notre Dame household. So my boyfriend's a big Notre Dame fan, so whatever. They're just miserable all around all the time. I want to find out more. We've been drinking and binking here with WWE champion Big E. Tell us about what's coming up. We know you have Survivor Series and so much more.
Yes. So, of course, the Survivor Series is at the Barclays Center. If you're in town, make sure to grab a ticket at SeatGeek.com, or you can watch on Peacock. It's going to be an incredible show. It's brand versus brand, Raw versus SmackDown, champion versus champion. You got to tune in. And your main event, Roman Reigns versus me, Big E, will be incredible. But make sure to watch the show and watch what we do. We'll also be in Barclays the very next night for Monday Night Raw. But yeah, make sure to tune in. And for anyone who hasn't watched in a while, you're a Laps fan or maybe you're not familiar, if you're in the area for any of our shows, there's nothing like watching live. There's so many people who might be on the fence, then they go to a show, they watch live, and they're hooked. So I'm telling you, when we're in town, come see us.
Cannot wait. Thank you so much. Good luck. Can't wait to watch you. Thanks so much for being here on the show. And guys, you know where to find us. All of our interviews, clips, shows are all on YouTube at Fubo Sports. You can check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Fubo Sports. And until next time, body slam, bitches. You usually say bottoms up, bitches, but body slam because you're here.
I appreciate the little tweet.